My name is Daphne Hartwell. I'm 71 years old, and on Mother's Day, I stood in front of 60 people with a black eye that no amount of makeup could hide. The country club ballroom went silent. Not the polite kind of quiet where people pause their conversations, the kind where champagne glasses stop halfway to mouths, where forks freeze above plates, where every pair of eyes locks onto one thing: my face. The bruise bloomed purple and yellow across my left cheekbone, spreading up to my temple. Foundation caked thick in the creases couldn't cover the swelling. The cut above my eyebrow had scabbed over, dark and obvious under the crystal chandeliers. My son Quillon stood at the microphone, his arm around his wife's sable. He looked at me, really looked at me, and something crossed his face. Not concern, not horror, pride. "It was my wife," he said into the microphone, his voice carrying across the silent room. "She taught her some respect." 60 people heard him say it. 60 witnesses to my humiliation. Sable smirked, that same cold smile she'd worn 3 nights ago when she stood over me in my kitchen, her hand still raised for another blow. My daughter Isolde grabbed my arm, her fingernails digging into my skin. "Mom," she whispered, her voice shaking. Tell them what she did." But I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The shame pressed down on my chest like a weight. Then the ballroom doors opened. "Hi, viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is." My brother Caspian walked in. He was late, still wearing his travel clothes from the airport. At 73, he carried himself like a man who'd spent 50 years commanding respect in operating rooms across the country. Silver hair, green eyes that missed nothing, a jaw set like stone. He looked at my face, his hands clenched into fists. The room held its breath. Caspian walked straight to the microphone, straight to my son. His shoes clicked against the hardwood floor, each step deliberate, measured, the sound of a man who'd made a decision. He stopped inches from Quillon's face. "You want to know what your wife did?" Caspian's voice was quiet. Deadly quiet. "3 days ago, Sable went to your mother's house and beat her because Daphne wouldn't give her access to your trust fund. The trust fund your father set up to protect you from people exactly like her." The room exploded, but Caspian wasn't finished. He turned to face the crowd, his doctor's voice carrying to every corner. "That injury on my sister's face isn't from a fall, it's from being struck. Multiple times. By someone who knew exactly what she was doing, and I can prove it." He pulled out his phone, held it up. "Because Daphne's security camera caught the whole thing." Sable's face went white as paper. Her smirk vanished. Her hand dropped from Quillon's arm. My son looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time in 2 years, I saw doubt crack through the wall Sable had built around him. "Mom?" His voice broke. "Is that true?" I opened my mouth to answer, but before I could speak, Sable lunged for Caspian's phone. 3 days earlier, I'd been standing in my kitchen making tea when I heard the key turn in my front door lock. I'd given Sable that key 6 months ago. "For emergencies," I'd said. "For times when you need to check on me." She'd used it exactly once before, the day she came to tell me I wasn't welcome at Quillon's birthday party because my negative energy would ruin the celebration. Now she stood in my kitchen doorway at 9 o'clock at night, wearing a black dress that cost more than my monthly mortgage. Her heels clicked against the tile I'd picked out when my husband Terrence and I bought this house, back when I thought I'd die in the family estate, surrounded by grandchildren. Before Sable convinced Quillon that his mother needed to downsize. "We need to talk about the trust fund," she said. No hello, no pretense of warmth. I set down my teacup. "The trust fund isn't up for discussion." "Everything is up for discussion, Daphne." She moved closer. "Quillon and I have decided we want access. Now. For investments." My hand stayed steady on the counter. "The terms are clear. The money can't be touched until your first child turns 1. That's what Terrence specified." "Terrence is dead." Her voice was flat, cold. "And you're the trustee. You can change the terms." "I won't," she smiled. Actually smiled. "You will." That's when I saw it. The look in her eyes that I'd missed 2 years ago when Quillan brought her home for the first time. The look I'd ignored when everyone said how lucky my son was to find such a beautiful, successful woman. The look of someone who'd already decided what she was willing to do to get what she wanted. The trust contains $2.7 million, I said quietly. Money Terrence and I saved for our son's future children, for their education, their security. I won't let you gamble it away on whatever scheme. Her hand moved faster than I could process. The slap snapped my head sideways. Pain exploded across my cheek. My vision blurred. The kitchen tilted. I grabbed the counter to keep from falling. Don't you ever— Another slap, harder this time. My ear rang. Presume to tell me— Her fist this time, catching my eye. Something warm trickled down my face. What I can and cannot have. I tried to speak, tried to scream, but her hand closed around my throat. You have 48 hours, Sable whispered, her face inches from mine. Call the lawyer, authorize the transfer, or I will make sure you never see Quillan again, never meet your grandchildren, never exist in this family. She released my throat. I collapsed against the cabinets, sliding down to the floor, and I saw him. Sable crouched beside me, pulled out her phone, took a picture of my face, bruised, bleeding, terrified. Insurance, she said, in case you think about going to the police. I'll tell them you attacked me first, that you've been having episodes. Confusion, aggression, that we've been worried about your mental state for months. She stood, smoothing her dress. Who do you think they'll believe? A respected businesswoman? Or a bitter old widow who can't accept that her son has moved on? The door closed behind her. I lay on my kitchen floor for 2 hours before I could stand. Before I could think. Before I could admit to myself what had just happened. My daughter-in-law had beaten me in my own home, and I had no idea how to fight back. 2 years before that night, I'd met Sable for the first time at a charity gala. Mom, Batizkian. This is Sable Brennan, Quillan said. His whole face lit up in a way I hadn't seen since he was a boy, but saw. She's the director of operations at Mercier Industries. She was stunning. 28 to Quillan's 32. Sharp black suit. Confident handshake. The kind of woman who commanded attention when she walked into a room. Mrs. Hartwell, she said warmly. Quillan talks about you constantly. I've been dying to meet the woman who raised such an incredible man. I liked her immediately. God help me, I liked her. She asked about the medical supply company Terrence and I had built, listened intently when I talked about the early years, when we were running the business out of our garage, laughed at my stories about Quillan and Isolde as children. Your son is lucky to have you, she said. Not everyone gets a mother who's also a mentor. 3 months later, they were engaged. 6 months after that, married in a ceremony that cost more than my first house. The changes started small. So small I told myself I was imagining things. Quillan stopped calling as often. Once a week became once a month. Our Sunday dinners, a tradition since he was born, were suddenly complicated with Sable's work schedule. She's building her career, Mom, Quillan explained when I asked. We need to prioritize her networking events. Then came the suggestion about the family estate. Terrence and I had lived there for 40 years, raised our children there, built our business in the home office that overlooked the garden. When Terrence died 2 years before I met Sable, I'd planned to stay until I couldn't manage the stairs anymore. It's too much house for one person, Quillan said over coffee one morning. And honestly, Mom, Sable and I are thinking about starting a family. We need the space. You want me to move out of my home? Not move out. Downsize. There's a great neighborhood across town. Smaller houses, less maintenance. You'd be happier. I wasn't happier. The new house felt like a museum of everything I'd lost. Terrence's photos on the walls, the kids' baby pictures, rooms that echoed because I couldn't fill them with enough furniture. Sable redecorated the estate within a month, got rid of the garden Terrence had planted, tore out the office where we'd built our company, erased every trace of the 40 years we'd lived there. Fresh start, she said when I visited, when I was still allowed to visit. You understand. I didn't understand. But I stayed quiet. because Quillan seemed happy, because I didn't want to be the bitter mother-in-law who couldn't let go, because I didn't yet know what Sable was capable of. The morning after the beating, I couldn't get out of bed. My face throbbed. My ribs screamed every time I breathed. The cut above my eye had bled into my pillow overnight, staining it dark red. I called Isolde. "Mom?" Her voice went sharp with worry. What's wrong? You sound... Can you come over?" She arrived 20 minutes later, took one look at my face and started crying. "Who did this to you?" She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police." "No." I grabbed her hand. "You can't." "Mom, someone attacked you. Look at your face." It was Sable. Isolde went completely still. "What?" I told her everything. The key, the trust fund, the beating. The threats, the photos Sable had taken as insurance. My daughter listened without interrupting. When I finished, her hands were shaking. "We're going to the police right now," she said. "This is assault. She can't..." "She can, and she will get away with it." I closed my eyes. "She'll say I attacked her first, that I've been unstable since your father died, that she was defending herself." That's insane. No one will believe... Everyone will believe her. My voice came out flat. Dead. She spent 2 years building credibility, making me look like the problem. The bitter widow who can't let her son grow up, who resents his beautiful, successful wife. Isolde paced my bedroom, her anger filling the small space. "So what? You just let her win, Ian? You let her beat you and threaten you, and I don't know what to do." The admission broke something in me. I started crying, real, ugly sobs that made my ribs scream and my face throb and my whole body shake. My daughter held me while I fell apart. "We'll figure this out," she whispered. "I promise, Mom, we'll figure this out." But neither of us knew how. The next day, Isolde called Caspian. My brother had been at a medical conference in Boston. He'd planned to fly back for Mother's Day anyway, but Isolde's call changed everything. "Don't tell Mom I called you," she said. "But something happened. Something bad, and I need your help." Caspian caught the next flight out. He showed up at my house that afternoon with a medical bag and a fury I'd only seen once before when our father raised his hand to our mother 40 years ago. Caspian had been 20 then. He'd stepped between them and said in that same deadly quiet voice, "You'll never touch her again." Our father never did. Now Caspian examined my face with gentle, professional hands, took photos with his medical camera, documented every bruise, every cut, every mark Sable had left. "This is evidence," he said. "Medical documentation." "When did it happen?" 2 nights ago." "And you haven't reported it?" I explained about Sable's threats. The photo, the insurance against my credibility. Caspian listened. Then he made a phone call. "Roger, it's Caspian Hartwell. I need a favor. I need you to pull security footage from my sister's house. All cameras. For the night of May 10th. "Yes, I'll explain when I see you. How fast can you get it?" He hung up, looked at me. "Your security system," he said. "The one I had installed after Terrence died. It has cameras front and back, cloud storage, everything time-stamped and backed up to a secure server." My heart stopped. I forgot about the cameras. "Sable doesn't know about them either, does she?" I shook my head. Caspian smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Good." 3 hours later, we had the footage. I watched myself on the screen, watched Sable let herself in with the key, watched the conversation, watched her hand move, watched myself fall, watched everything. The video was crystal clear, showed everything Sable had done, captured every word she'd said, time-stamped and impossible to deny. "This is assault," Caspian said. "Documented, provable. She threatened you, she attacked you, and she's attempting to extort money from a trust fund." Isolde leaned forward. "So we go to the police now?" "No." I stood up, my ribs protested, but I ignored them. "Not yet." They both stared at me. "The Mother's Day brunch," I said quietly. "It's in 2 days. Sable organized it, invited everyone, my friends, the family, people from the company. She's planned this whole celebration. Mom, you can't seriously be thinking, I'm going. My voice was steady now, clear. I'm going to that brunch, and I'm going to let everyone see what she did to me. Caspian understood immediately. You want to expose her publicly. I want witnesses. I want everyone who's ever believed her lies about me to see the truth. I want Quillon to understand who he married. I looked at my brother. Can you be there? Can you bring the footage? He nodded slowly. I can do better than that. I can make a medical statement. Professional documentation of assault. It'll hold up in court if she tries to fight back. She'll deny everything, Isolde said. She'll say it's fake. Edited. Let her try. Caspian pulled out his phone again. I know people. Forensic specialists. They can verify the footage is authentic, can testify to its validity. For the first time in 3 days, I felt something other than fear. I felt ready. Sable called the next morning. Just checking that you'll be there tomorrow, she said sweetly. For the Mother's Day brunch I planned for you. I'll be there. Wonderful. And Daphne, have you had a chance to think about our conversation? About the trust fund? My reflection stared back at me from the bathroom mirror. Purple bruises, swollen eye, split skin. I've thought about it, I said. And? I'll give you my answer tomorrow at the brunch. She paused. That's not what we agreed. It's what I'm offering. Another pause. Longer this time. I could almost hear her calculating, deciding whether to push or wait. Fine, she said finally. Tomorrow, don't disappoint me, Daphne. She hung up. I stood in my bathroom looking at what she'd done to me, what she'd thought would break me. Tomorrow, I thought. Tomorrow, everyone will see. Mother's Day morning, I woke up at 5. I couldn't sleep anyway. My face hurt, my ribs hurt, everything hurt, but I got up, showered carefully, dried my hair, put on the navy dress I'd bought for the occasion before I knew I'd be wearing it with a black eye. Then I sat at my vanity and picked up my makeup. I could cover the bruises. I was good with foundation. I could make myself look normal, presentable, like nothing had happened. My hand hovered over the makeup sponge. Then I put it down. No, I thought, let them see. I applied just enough foundation to look like I'd tried to cover it, like I hadn't wanted people to notice. But not enough to actually hide anything. The bruises showed through. Obvious. Undeniable. Perfect. Isolde picked me up at 10. She took one look at me and her eyes filled with tears. You're sure about this? She asked. I'm sure. Quillon is going to lose his mind when he sees you. Good. We drove to the Riverside Country Club in silence, the same place where I'd celebrated 20 anniversaries with Terrence, where we'd held Quillon and Isolde's graduation parties, where everything in my life used to make sense. The ballroom was decorated in blush pink and cream, white roses on every table, champagne fountain, string quartet in the corner. Sable had spared no expense. She saw me the moment I walked in. Her eyes went to my face, narrowed, calculated. She'd expected me to cover the bruises, to hide what she'd done. My exposed face was not part of her plan, but she recovered quickly, plastered on a smile, walked over with her arms open like we were the best of friends. Daphne, you made it! Oh my goodness, what happened to your face? 60 people turned to look. I fell, I said clearly, loudly, in my kitchen 2 nights ago. Sable's smile tightened. Oh, you poor thing. You really should be more careful. At your age, falls can be so dangerous. She squeezed my arm. Her fingers found the bruise beneath my sleeve. Pressed down hard enough to make me gasp. Why don't we get you seated? She said sweetly. The brunch is about to start. She guided me to the head table, sat me down in the guest of honor chair. Quillon appeared at the microphone. He looked at my face, frowned. Good morning, everyone, he said. Thank you for coming to celebrate Mother's Day with us. I want to take a moment to honor my mother, Daphne. Polite applause. My mother taught me many things growing up about hard work, about dedication, about respect. He paused. But she also taught me that sometimes you have to make difficult choices, that putting your marriage first means setting boundaries, that mothers can't control their adult children's lives forever. My hands clenched in my lap. My wife, Sable, has helped me understand healthy relationships. She's shown me what it means to prioritize your spouse, to build a life separate from your parents. Sable stood beside him, glowing. Mom, Quillan said, looking directly at me. I know this transition has been hard for you. I know you've struggled with accepting Sable into our family. But I need you to understand, she is my family now, my priority. And if you can't respect her, we're going to have to establish some serious boundaries. The room was silent. Isolde stood up. Quillan, look at Mom's face. Really look at it. I am looking. She said she fell. She didn't fall. Someone hit her. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sable stepped forward, tears welling in her eyes. I've tried so hard with Daphne. I planned this whole brunch to honor her. And she shows up looking like she wants people to think I did something to her. More gasps. That's exactly what happened, Isolde said. Sable went to Mom's house 3 nights ago and— Isolde, stop! Quillan's voice was ice. You're making wild accusations. It was my wife, Quillan said into the microphone. The words rang out across the silent ballroom. She taught her some respect. Time stopped. Every person in that room stared at my son, at the man I'd raised, at the boy who used to bring me flowers from the garden and tell me I was the best mom in the world. Sable smirked, that same cold smile from my kitchen floor. And that's when the ballroom doors opened and my brother walked in. Sable lunged for Caspian's phone, but my brother was faster. He'd been a surgeon for 47 years. His reflexes were sharp, precise. He stepped back, held the phone out of reach. Touch me and you'll add assault to your list of charges, he said calmly. Sable froze. Charges? Quillan's voice cracked. Uncle Caspian, what are you talking about? I'm talking about your wife beating your mother in her own home 3 nights ago. I'm talking about extortion, threats, documented assault. Caspian tapped his phone screen. And I'm talking about the security footage that proves every word of it. The room erupted in chaos, people talking over each other, chairs scraping. Someone dropped a champagne glass and it shattered against the floor. That's ridiculous, Sable said, but her voice shook. Daphne fell. She's confused. She's been having memory issues for months. I'm a neurologist. Caspian's voice cut through the noise like a blade. I examined my sister yesterday, documented her injuries. There's no confusion, no memory issues, just injuries consistent with being struck multiple times by someone standing directly in front of her. He held up his phone where everyone could see the screen. This footage is from Daphne's security system. Time-stamped, cloud-backed, unedited. It shows everything that happened on the night of May 10th. He pressed play. My kitchen appeared on screen, small but clear. The timestamp in the corner read 9:03 p.m. Sable appeared in the doorway. I watched 60 people watch the footage, watched their faces change as they heard Sable's voice demanding access to the trust fund, watched them flinch when the first slap landed, watched them gasp when her fist connected with my eye, watched them see exactly who my daughter-in-law really was. The video played for 3 minutes. When it ended, the ballroom was silent. Quillan stared at the phone like it was something he couldn't process. His face had gone completely white. That's not, Sable started. That's edited, fake. She set this up to, I have 3 forensic specialists standing by to verify the footage's authenticity, Caspian said. I also have medical documentation, photographs, a detailed timeline of events, and I've already contacted the district attorney's office. Sable's face crumpled. Real tears this time. Quillan, please. You have to believe me. I would never. You told me she fell. Quillan's voice was hollow, empty. You said she was fine. I didn't know. I wasn't there. You were there. I stood up. My voice rang clear across the silent room. You came to my house. You demanded access to money that isn't yours, and when I said no, you beat me on my kitchen floor and threatened to erase me from my son's life. I walked toward them. Every step hurt, but I didn't care. You've spent 2 years isolating Quillon from everyone who loves him. You took my home, my Sunday dinners, my relationship with my son. You made me feel small and bitter and crazy. I stopped in front of Sable. But you made one mistake. You underestimated how much I was willing to endure to protect my family. Sable's tears had stopped. Her face hardened. You think you've won? She hissed. You think this changes anything? Quillon loves me. He'll forgive me. We'll get past this, and you'll still be the bitter old woman no one wants around. Quillon grabbed her arm. Get out. What? Get out. His voice shook with rage. Get out of this club. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Quillon, please. I said get out, he was shouting now. Security! 2 security guards appeared. They escorted Sable toward the exit while she screamed about how this was all a misunderstanding, how I'd manipulated everyone, how she was the real victim. The doors closed behind her. The room stayed silent. Quillon turned to me. His eyes were red. Mom, Don't. I held up my hand. Not yet. Not here. He nodded, looked down at his hands like he didn't recognize them. Caspian appeared at my side. The district attorney wants to press charges, assault, attempted extortion, breaking and entering. Will it stick? With this evidence? Absolutely. I looked around the ballroom, at the 60 witnesses to my humiliation, to Sable's exposure, to my son's world falling apart. Good, I said. Isolde wrapped her arms around me. You did it, Mom. You actually did it. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired, hurt, sad for the son who'd have to rebuild his life from the ashes of his marriage. Still, it was done. The truth was out, and for the first time in 2 years, I could breathe. The week after Mother's Day passed in a blur of police statements and lawyer meetings. Sable was arrested on Tuesday, charged with assault, extortion, and criminal threatening. The security footage made the case airtight. Her lawyer tried to argue that I'd provoked her, that the trust fund was marital property, that she'd acted in self-defense. None of it worked. The judge set bail at $50,000. Sable's parents posted it within hours. But the damage was done. Her face was all over the local news, the woman who'd beaten her elderly mother-in-law over money. Her job at Mercier Industries quietly let her go. Her friends stopped returning her calls. The life she'd built, the credibility, the reputation, the power, crumbled in less than a week. Quillon filed for divorce on Friday. He came to my house that evening, stood on my doorstep looking like he'd aged 10 years in 5 days. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I let him in. We sat in my small living room, the one that wasn't the family estate, the one Sable had made me move to. I'm so sorry, Mom. His voice broke. I'm so sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I let her. Stop. I took his hand. You were manipulated. She's good at it. That's what people like her do. I should have known. I should have seen the signs. Maybe, but you're seeing them now. He cried then, 32 years old and crying like he was 5 again. I held him while he fell apart. I don't know how to fix this, he whispered. You start by accepting that you can't fix it. You can only move forward. How? One day at a time. One choice at a time. I pulled back to look at him. You start by being honest about what happened, by making amends where you can, by learning from this. I said terrible things to you, at the brunch, before Uncle Caspian came in. I know. I told everyone you were the problem, that you couldn't respect my marriage, that you needed boundaries. He covered his face with his hands. God, Mom, I'm so ashamed. Good. Shame means you understand what you did wrong. What matters now is what you do next. He looked up. What do I do next? You rebuild your life. You go to therapy. You figure out who you are without her influence. I squeezed his hand. And you accept that rebuilding trust takes time. With me, with your sister, with everyone you pushed away. What if I can't fix it? What if I've destroyed everything? Then you live with the consequences. But you don't give up. You don't run away. You face what you've done, and you do better. He nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you tell me? After she hit you, why didn't you call me immediately? I thought about that, about the choice I'd made to stay silent, to wait. Because you wouldn't have believed me, I said finally. She'd spent 2 years building a narrative where I was the problem. The bitter mother who couldn't let go. If I'd called you crying about how Sable hit me, you'd have thought I was making it up, or exaggerating, or trying to break you up. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because when you saw my face at the brunch, your first instinct was to defend her, to say I'd fallen, to believe her version of events over the evidence right in front of you. He flinched, but he didn't argue. I needed proof, I continued. I needed something undeniable. Something she couldn't spin or explain away. The security footage gave me that. And if Uncle Caspian hadn't remembered the cameras, then I would have found another way, or I would have accepted that I couldn't reach you. I met his eyes. But I wasn't going to let her win. I wasn't going to disappear quietly while she erased me from your life. I almost let her do it. I know. I'm so sorry, Mom. I know that too. We sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the sun set over the neighborhood that still didn't feel like home. Can I ask you for something? Quillan said finally. What? Time. A chance to prove I can be better, that I can be the son you deserve. I thought about it, about trust and forgiveness, and whether either could be rebuilt after being shattered so completely. You can have time, I said. But understand this, I will never put myself in a position to be hurt like that again, by anyone, not even you. I understand. I love you, Quillan, I always will. But love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. It doesn't mean staying silent when someone hurts me. I know. Do you? Because for 2 years you chose someone who hurt me over and over, who isolated me, disrespected me, took everything I'd built and made me feel like I had no right to my own life. His face crumpled again. I know, God, Mom, I know. Then prove it. Show me through your actions that you understand what you did. That you're willing to do the work to change. I will, I promise. I wanted to believe him. Part of me did. But another part, the part that had been beaten on a kitchen floor, knew that promises were easy. Following through was hard. Time would tell which kind of man my son really was. Sable's trial happened 4 months later. Her lawyer tried everything. Argued that the security footage invaded her privacy, that I'd set her up, that she'd been under extreme emotional duress. The jury didn't buy it. They watched the footage, heard Caspian's medical testimony, saw the photographs of my injuries. It took them 3 hours to find her guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 18 months in prison and 5 years probation. She was also ordered to pay restitution and complete anger management counseling. Sable stood in court wearing an orange jumpsuit, her perfect hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked smaller somehow. Ordinary. Without the designer clothes and makeup and carefully constructed image, she was just a woman who'd made terrible choices. She looked at me as they led her away. I didn't look away. I wanted her to see that she hadn't broken me, that I'd survived her worst and come out stronger. She turned away first, Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed, wanted statements, wanted to know how I felt about the verdict, whether I'd forgiven my son, whether I had advice for other families dealing with similar situations. I gave them nothing. This wasn't about headlines or revenge or public vindication. It was about justice, about standing up for myself when no one else would, about refusing to disappear. Quillan was waiting by my car. He'd attended every day of the trial, sat in the back row, never spoke to Sable or her family. "It's over," he said quietly. "This part is. Can I buy you dinner? Just us?" I considered it, considered whether I was ready, whether enough time had passed. "Not yet," I said finally. "But soon." He nodded, looked disappointed but not surprised. "I'm proud of you, Mom," he said, "for fighting back, for not letting her win. I'm not proud that I had to fight at all. I know, that's on me, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it right. We'll see." I drove home alone, to the small house that still didn't feel like mine, that maybe never would, but it was mine, and no one could take it from me. That had to be enough. 6 months after the trial, I did something I never thought I'd do. I sold the medical supply company. Terrence and I had built it from nothing, spent 40 years growing it into something worth millions. I'd planned to pass it down to Quillan, to continue the legacy. But after everything that happened, I couldn't. Couldn't trust that he wouldn't make the same mistakes. Couldn't risk everything we'd built on his judgment. So I sold it to a competitor for $8.2 million. Quillan was devastated. "Mom, please," he begged when I told him, "don't do this. That company is Dad's legacy. It's our family's legacy. Our family's legacy is knowing when to walk away from something that's been poisoned. I've been in therapy. I've been working on myself. I'm not the same person I was when—" "I know, and I'm proud of you for doing that work, but this isn't about punishing you. It's about protecting what your father and I built. By selling it to strangers? By making sure it continues successfully. By not risking it on uncertainties." I softened my voice. "Quillan, you're 33 years old. You have time to build your own legacy. Something that's yours. Not something you inherited. But I know what you wanted, but you don't always get what you want, Mimo. That's part of growing up." He left angry. Didn't speak to me for 2 weeks. But eventually he came back. Apologized, said he understood even if he didn't agree. Progress, I thought. Slow, painful progress. I used part of the money to set up trust funds for future grandchildren, ones that Quillan couldn't access or control. Put another chunk into investments that would support me comfortably for the rest of my life. And the rest? I donated to organizations that helped domestic violence victims, women who'd been hurt by people they trusted, who needed proof that they weren't crazy, that they deserved better, women like me. Isolde threw me a party for my 72nd birthday that December. Just family. Caspian and his wife, Isolde and her partner, a few close friends who'd stood by me through everything. Quillan showed up with flowers and a card he'd made himself, like he used to do when he was little. "I'm sorry I don't have the perfect gift," he said. "I'm still figuring out how to show you what you mean to me." I took the card, read the words he'd written about understanding now what it meant to have a mother who fought for herself, who taught him that love meant boundaries and respect, and never accepting cruelty from anyone. "This is perfect," I told him. And I meant it. We ate cake, laughed about old memories, carefully avoided talking about Sable or the trial or everything we'd lost. At one point, Caspian pulled me aside. "How are you really doing?" he asked. "Better, not perfect, but better." "The nightmares?" "Less frequent." "And Quillan?" I looked across the room at my son. He was talking to Isolde, laughing at something she'd said. He looked lighter than he had in years. "We're rebuilding," I said. "It's slow, but it's happening." "Good." Caspian squeezed my shoulder. "You deserve peace, Daphne." "We all do." That night, After everyone left, I sat in my living room with the birthday cards spread out around me. The house was quiet. Still didn't quite feel like home, but it felt safe. And maybe that was enough. 1 year after Mother's Day, I went back to the Riverside Country Club, not for a party or event, just for lunch, by myself. I walked into that same ballroom where everything had exploded, where I'd stood with a black eye and exposed the truth. It looked different in daylight, smaller somehow, less intimidating. I sat at a table by the window, ordered tea and a sandwich, watched people come and go, living their normal lives, unaware of the drama that had unfolded here. The manager stopped by my table. "Mrs. Hartwell," she said warmly, it's good to see you again." "Thank you. I wanted you to know what you did that day, coming here, speaking up. It mattered to a lot of people." I looked up at her. "What do you mean?" "Two other members came forward after your situation became public. Said they'd been experiencing similar issues with family members, abuse they'd been hiding. Your courage helped them find their own." My throat tightened. I didn't know. "Most people don't realize the impact they have, but you helped people, Ms. Hartwell, more than you know." She walked away before I could respond. I sat there for a long time thinking about that, about courage and impact, and the ways our stories intersect with others. About how speaking up, even when it's terrifying, can create space for others to do the same. I finished my tea, left a generous tip, walked out of that ballroom with my head high, and I never looked back. If you've ever been told you're too old, too weak, or too broken to fight back, you were lied to. Your voice still matters, your truth still has power, and standing up for yourself is never too late. To anyone out there rebuilding after betrayal, rebuilding after being treated like you're invisible, rebuilding after someone tried to erase you, you're stronger than you think. Your story isn't over. What lesson hit you hardest from this story? And if you were in my position, what would you have done differently? Don't stop here. Click the next video on your screen right now and watch another powerful story from our channel. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one.